Kim Burgess is ultimately promoted in Chicago PD Season 12, Episode 6, which also draws attention to the show's years of shortcomings. Over the past few years, Hank Voight's intelligence has undergone a number of significant adjustments. The following year saw the return of Jay Halstead's ex-wife and former partner, Hailey Upton, following his disastrous departure from Chicago Police Department in Season 10. The departure of Voight's two most seasoned members had a significant influence on intelligence's operations, even though One Chicago is accustomed to its cast shifting frequently. The bright side of these departures, though, is that Burgess will now be able to advance in the Chicago Police Department. Chicago Police Department Season 12 was marred for months by speculation about Upton's replacement. Emily Martell was meant to be the newest member of the squad, but intelligence presented her, and then killed her early on. By the time she embarks on her first fieldwork in Pawn, the 6th episode of Chicago Police Department Season 12, Burgess is already in the last stage of becoming a detective. In the end, she gets the job, which is fantastic for both her and Voight's group. However, Kim's promotion highlights all of the show's narrative shortcomings over the past few years. A significant portion of Burgess's last promotion step in Pawns involves learning how to shift from an officer to a detective's method of handling a case. Detective Suarez observes Deputy Chief Reed in what could be considered the practical portion of the test at her request. Burgess was assigned to call the shots during an incident they responded to. Suarez constantly reminds her that even after years of service as an officer, she still needs to make an effort to concentrate on her new role as a detective. This includes delegating tasks to her subordinates and managing the evidence. The distinctions between the duties of an officer and a detective have never been established in Chicago PD. Thus, even though all of these changes make sense, they are irrelevant. Chicago PD has not clearly defined their functions, save from having distinct positions within the agency. Voight is the head of intelligence, hence he makes the decisions. Though occasionally some of them would disobey directions, the remainder of the team can generate ideas that can be put into action. But in the end, he always gets the final say. Alvin Olinsky, Antonio Dawson, Jay Halstead, and Hailey Upton are among Voight's obvious right-hand people during One Chicago's run, but everyone else responds to a murder scene in the same manner. As a result, Suarez's orders to Burgess in Chicago PD Season 12, Episode 6 are hard to care about. Since these procedures have never been important throughout the show's 12 seasons, viewers are very little to no interested in them as long as the perpetrator is apprehended and the case is resolved. Apart from the particular adjustments brought about by Burgess' elevation, the fact alone highlights what may be the largest problem with Chicago PD's narrative in the past 10 years. The veteran intelligence officer responds that she has been with the company for 13 years when Suarez inquires about her tenure. She and Kevin Atwater were already patrol cops working under Trudy Platt by the time the procedural debuted in 2014. Prior to Kiana Cook's promotion in Chicago Police Department Season 12, Burgess was actually the last uniformed cop to be called up. Getting on patrol and then getting called up to be part of intelligence offered the show a lot of stories to tell in its early years. Because Burgess and Atwater are both native-born, it also made it simpler to get attached to them. Unfortunately, there is no hope for this anymore. This is made worse by the fact that, despite the fact that every officer in the One Chicago series has the potential to advance, they have been stagnant for years. Burgess might not have been promoted if Upton hadn't left in the Chicago Police Department Season 11 finale. Burgess was the last of Voight's seasoned intelligence operatives to be promoted to the rank of officer in the Chicago Police Department. In spite of this, it's hard to dispute that she isn't the group's most deserving detective. To begin with, Adam Ruzek and Atwater are both excellent at their professions, but none of them can identify Voight when he's on the verge of losing it as Burgess can. This is a crucial component of the Deputy of Intelligence's job, and Dawson, Halstead, and Upton all performed it effectively. Although Burgess' elevation is entirely warranted, it raises concerns about when Atwater and Ruzek will advance in the Chicago Police Department. Though it's hard to deny that they have been in the same position for a longer period of time than Burgess, both have been quite supportive of their comrades' recent success in their new roles in intelligence. Given that both Torres and Cook are officers, Chicago PD must at the very least promote Ruzek or Atwater soon in order to create a more balanced dynamic within intelligence. As was already mentioned, Chicago Police Department has failed to distinguish between officers and detectives based on more than just rank. It's quite unlikely that this will affect how things are done in intelligence until the program keeps bringing it up as Burgess settles into the position. Even Suarez informs Burgess at the conclusion of their case that their operation will not change as long as Voight is still in charge. But it's interesting to wonder if the team's smaller dynamics will shift in any way. Although Atwater and Ruzek have both stated their support for Burgess, her promotion would allow her to issue orders that they would have to abide by. This might be used by Chicago police to stir up conflict within the group for dramatic effect. Aside from her job, Burgess's recently increased responsibilities inside intelligence may indirectly affect her long-awaited wedding.